This is the 5-minute guide to the Lexington class battlecruisers of the United States Navy. Well, last week we looked at the Littorio class, and if you thought you had found a ship with a complicated and convoluted design history, then I hope you are sitting comfortably, because this one is even better. The Lexington class, a post-World War I battlecruiser, started life in 1903, before the first dreadnought had even begun building. Yes, that's right, 1903. Obviously it looked very different back then, so let's take a look. The first design arose from the Naval War College questioning the effectiveness of armored cruisers, following a similar line of logic to the German thinking when they designed their own battle cruisers. However, as this was the pre-Dreadnought era, the proposed design was effectively a pre-Dreadnought battleship with a 22 knot speed gained by sacrificing the secondary battery, the proposed armament being 4 12-inch guns in a pair of twin turrets along with 22 3-inch guns and 4 torpedo tubes. However, the advent of the Dreadnought and the Invincible put paid to this concept, since it was underarmed compared to either ship and only about as fast as the former vessel, let alone the latter. By 1908 the design had changed, although still with a German-like emphasis on fleet scouting. This ship would have a speed of at least 25 knots and be protected like a Wyoming-class battleship, only with 8 12-inch guns and 4 twin turrets instead of 12 and 6 turrets. A number of variants were considered, with the turrets removed, being the super firing units. But these were not recommended for construction. Part of the reason for this slow approach was the American Congress. The United States Navy obviously wanted to keep up with the latest battleship innovations, but also to supplement the fleet with battle cruisers. However, Congress starved the Navy of funds so badly that hardly any cruisers or destroyers were built, and even battleships were cut from a pair per year to 1 per year on several occasions. There simply was no money for the ships, unless they didn't build any battleships at all. Inevitably it took an external threat to make them sit up and take notice. This threat duly arrived when Japan ordered the Kango-class battle cruisers. A new series of designs were drafted with an armament of 8 14-inch guns and 4 twin turrets with a variety of speeds, operational ranges and belt armor thicknesses considered. But once again Congress continued to deny the Navy the funds they wanted, and it wasn't until America got involved in World War I that the money began to be granted, only for the whole program to be suspended almost immediately to allow for the production of merchant ships and destroyers. By this point the design had evolved to be part of a 35-knot scouting force alongside the Omaha-class cruisers and Wilkes-class destroyers. Nobody had tried getting a ship this large to move this fast. They even had to double stack the boilers above the armor deck to get enough of them in, and this led to the ships needing many funnels. How many, I hear you ask? All the funnels. They would also now carry 10 14-inch guns in an unusual configuration, with a pair of super firing turrets at each end, but with a twin turret underneath the triple turret, a configuration which would later show up on the Pensacola-class cruisers for much the same reason. The hull was too thin by the time it got to the end turrets to allow for anything else. 18 5-inch guns would complement this main battery for a displacement of just over 34,000 tons. This speed and armament were bought at the expense of armor. At a maximum of 7 inches thick, no battle cruiser had been worse protected since the Invincible class, and this led to an additional problem. With the stress of high-speed operations, a large hull and thin armor, there was a good chance the ships would bend and twist their own hulls, although a number of clever ideas were installed to try and prevent it from happening. During the pause, the Battle of Jutland was fought, and initially the American Navy took entirely the wrong lessons from it, concluding that the best thing to do was to change the armament to 8 16-inch guns in twin turrets alongside 14 single 6-inch guns. No change was made to the ship's protection, and so even the contemporary HMS Incomparable design, something normally held up as the pinnacle of crazily underprotected battlecruiser design, was still significantly better protected and therefore more reasonable than the Lexingtons were at this point. At this point the HMS Hood was launched and brought everything to a screaming halt, since suddenly there was a fast ship, armed with guns similar to existing battleships, but also protected to a similar degree. The British happily sent over a constructor to pass on some of their knowledge that led to a number of design changes, including sadly fewer funnels. These were submitted to the General Board alongside a plea that the ships be protected against something a bit heavier than 6-inch guns. These were denied on the grounds that to make something like the Hood would make the American Standard class obsolete, much as the Dreadnought had done years before. Admiral Sims decided to be the only sane man in the room by pointing out that the Hood's very existence showed this revolution had already started, and ignoring it would be about as useful as ignoring the existence of dreadnoughts. Eventually, a marginally better protected version was authorized at the cost of a couple of knots in speed. Additionally, 8 3-inch anti-aircraft guns and 8 torpedo tubes had found their way into the design. After nearly 20 years of reticence, the ships started construction. And then were promptly cancelled under the Washington Naval Treaty. Sometimes you just can't win. However, a pair of the ships would go on to new lives. Check out the following video for more information on that. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have a comment or suggestion for a ship to review, let us know in the comments below.